Emmanuel loved the rodeo. One of my uncles was a bull rider, so being able to go and watch him perform on these bulls just blew Emmanuel's mind.
That rodeo world is a toughness that can match none. Those moments when my uncle getting ready to ride on that bull and his adrenaline going, but knowing he don't give a damn.
He looked at it like you have to have an extreme passion and extreme love to get out there and put your body and your life on the line just for a belt buckle.
It's just thinking about how much I love this game of football and seeing them prior to that roar of the Sunday crowd, and now it's with me. This is my rodeo. My mom, she had me, I think she was 16 when she had me. You have a kid at 16, it's kind of hard. So with that said, I was pretty much raised by my grandma.
You know, we grew up in a big family, always ended up at my grandma's house. So we all slept there, we all played there. We make pallets on the floor and there was 8, 9 kids just, you know, basically stacked on top of each other. And that might be why we're all so tight to this day, is because, you know, we lived that way.
My grandma, she made sure we had clothes on our backs and food on our table. That's who keep this family together.
I'll forever love my grandma, a woman that will work 2 jobs, you know, to support the family.
Anything I did, he always wanted to follow me. And I told Emmanuel, I said, look, you are the man of this house. And you will always be the man of this house.
Imagine when your grandma tell you at 7 years old, you're the man of the house. What that instills off in you, like, I gotta go and get this.
There were times where, you know, the meals that we pieced together weren't the most ideal. There was, you know, Serb sandwiches and, you know, there were ketchup sandwiches and...
If we didn't have much, you know, whatever we had, we shared. I feel like a person that come up with little or nothing don't really look for very much than a person that's got a whole lot.
At the end of the day, it was still love there, you know, and you knew that they cared about you. And sometimes that's more important than having all the wealth in the world.
Both of my uncles were Cowboys, so Emmanuel would go to the rodeos, love country music. He loved the way that the Cowboys dressed and how everything was creased to the T. And
he was always wanting to learn something new. So my uncle and them would do like ropings and have like competitions, like he was there.
So it got to the point where we saw him, he always had his rope with him.
He roped the chairs, he roped the garbage cans. It doesn't matter.
Eventually I got so consistent with roping and tying and pulling. I said, man, I'm bored. So I remember I saw my sister one time. I said, you better run. Ha!
And he was already fast, so, you know, if he said he was gonna rope you, 9 out of 10 times, he roped you.
Hey, every time I grab that rope, man, you better start running, because I'm trying to get you. Oh man, growing up in Belleville was definitely different than a lot of places. I don't even know what it was, but it felt like population 50.
It's the best town in the world to raise kids. Small town, we just got our second traffic light about 5 years ago.
Belleville, sports is king. It's deep in the heart of Texas, where from birth you're given a football and you're declared a future Belleville Brahma. So between sports and family, that was everything.
It also taught me how to be humble. It taught me how to treat people. It's just that country feeling, that southern hospitality feeling that I wouldn't change for the world.
The sport thing in our family is really big. We just instilled in the kids, if y'all plan on doing this, you gotta be good at it. So Emmanuel just took it to another level because he knew that he wanted to get out, he didn't want to struggle, so he knows sports is gonna be the only way you get out.
My dad basically just said, you guys don't understand. You have a real opportunity to get out of Belleville. You can do bigger and better things, but you gotta work at it, you gotta work at it.
My Uncle Howard, man, all my success in sports really is to him. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you ain't got the mindset, it's nothing.
And so my dad created a football league basically just for us and our love for the game.
I do remember our first game. It was like 150 degrees outside. We was playing against some team that looked like the Denver Broncos right now.
The first offensive snap we had, we look across and there was this girl who was, at that time, was like the biggest person we had ever seen. And she beat us so bad that we quit at halftime.
I'm like, man, like, maybe we should have never started football.
But yeah, she beat the mess out of us.
My dad he was smiling ear to ear. He was like, oh, this is exactly what y'all need, a little humble pie to bring y'all back down to earth and show y'all that it's gonna take practice. It was a slow process, but then it started to click. Going into high school, Emmanuel was faster than everybody else. He was more determined than everybody else. So he kind of felt like he was above the game, above the team, because he had so much success. So,
man, I was hot here in high school. Yeah, I wasn't trying to listen to nothing when nobody was telling me.
Our coach then, Coach Huey Chancellor, basically said, if you're not gonna do it my way, it's the highway. So he kicked him off the field, kicked him off the team.
You're gonna leave, they're gonna keep playing. He said, no. Or they're gonna come back and get me back on the team. So a week went by. Nobody came by. By that second week, I didn't have to say anything. Emmanuel begged to go back on that team.
So I pulled Emmanuel in one day and I just told him, hey, you know, I'm telling you that if you will snap out of this, get along with your teachers, get along with your coaches, that you're gonna head in a great direction. I said, you are good enough, son, to get your school paid for.
And when he got back on the team, he proved he deserved to be on that team.
When he got on that field, it was on. I mean, he wanted to play.
I played every single position that you could possibly play at my size.
He didn't want anybody to outdo him. If it was a punt on the team better than Emmanuel, he's gonna go home and practice how to punt.
Literally everything on the field he did. You know, he was our starting safety, he was our starting receiver.
He was our punt returner, our kickoff returner, and he would come up and hit you. He is not scared at all.
But I just knew Emmanuel had something inside of him. He was so competitive, and he had such an expectation of himself.
High school football might be the best football that I ever played in my entire life. Just because it was that hometown feel of, you know, it ain't about the money, it ain't about nothing. Literally, we were playing for our brothers.
He was our edge, you know, he was our attitude. Eventually, he learned how to harness that dog mentality that he's always had and to channel it into becoming a really, really good football player.
That was my sanctuary. Football has always been a place that no matter what I'm going through, I could always go on that football field and let it all go.
The end of his freshman year kind of carried into his sophomore year, and he had a really big outbreak year in football that year. Late in the playoffs, we played Marlin, and he had a huge game.
Texas high school game of the week out of all the games, and Marlin always dominated us.
He caught a curl route, turned it upfield, and everybody thought that they were going to catch him, and he has that ability to rise up to that level of competition, and he was able to hold them off and win about 70 yards for a touchdown.
He almost won us a ball game that we had no reason being in. One of the greatest efforts I've ever seen.
That was my coming out party in that playoff game. It just seemed like everything just took off from there after that game.
You can tell if a kid has that kind of special knack that he could be a college athlete.
Everybody knew that if anybody was going to break out and go D1, it was going to be Emmanuel. Going into our senior year of high school, we had gotten invited to a camp at the University of Houston. It's time to break down the camp, we're done. All of a sudden, you hear a coach, he's calling off names of people they want to stay behind and maybe run some extra reps. And Emmanuel's name was on it.
I want to show out. I want to be the best kid at that camp.
The first time Emmanuel lined up, he ran the route and this quarterback threw a pass that was the most awful pass I had ever seen in my life. I'm talking looked like a punt.
And here I am, I remember I'm running down the side. Everybody think I'm just gonna let it go.
He kept on running, got to the track. When he got to the track, he just stretched out and caught it.
And we ain't got on no pads at this University of Houston camp.
But it was just like, oh shoot, like he dove on the track. This kid is on a whole different level in terms of just competition, and he got offered a scholarship that next day. More schools started to follow suit, and then weeks later, he committed to SMU and decided to be a Mustang.
Emmanuel's the kind of kid, real free-hearted, real giving. Him being him, the best is yet to come.
I think he's finally at a point where he's addicted to success. I think he's at a point where he's addicted to improvement.
I love this game of football, and I hope that I express that to the fans when I play it, but I don't play it for the money and the cars, the lifestyle. I play it because I love suiting up and hearing the roar of the Sunday crowd, of knowing all the hard work that I put in.
You know, the football was very important, but I just think that's just a platform for something else. His greatness hasn't been reached yet. I think he's got a long way to go.